refurbishments of very, very low energy. You will hear this from administration people this afternoon. In 2009, we decided that in 2015 we would all be passive. We also decided that other measures could be taken. And the change of government was a real opportunity to go for it, to start. And BATEX showed that not only could you go very far in terms of efficiency, but also that it was totally affordable, sometimes even cheaper than for other types of buildings. So we worked very hard on fostering demand and on assisting the designers, those who design the program of the building, because they start the discussion with the works manager and they will set up the works plan. So you have to train them. And we train them a lot. Today, for example, we have a course of 18,000 hours per year for what we call the prescriptors. We're talking about the architects and those who are professionals of building, of construction. We provide for courses that have particular focuses depending on the case. We do this for contractors as well. So in 2010, we started this in construction. We launched a long discussion that lasted for 6 months, and we tried to set up what needed to be implemented in order to transform traditional buildings into BATEX. This is our ambition. Passive buildings, sustainable buildings, eco-materials, water management, green roofing, everything that turns a building into a better building than what was being done in 2000. So in 2010, we created an alliance, and in 2011, we signed the first text on passive. No one seems to be bothered about it, but in 2015 we should have started. And when we talked about starting in 2015, it's like everyone woke up. Real estate stakeholders, architects, contractors kind of woke up and said, hey, it's going too fast. You're going too far, too fast. We need to talk about it. So this is what we did. We talked about it for a year. We said, are you sure we're talking about the same thing here? Is there some fear about some elements? So we have to make sure we're talking about the same thing. And they asked us, are you sure this is going to happen, or do you just think it is going to happen? For example, real estate companies are very worried about air tightness. So they're very, very worried about this. And if there is a test on this, the administration might turn against the contractor, might turn against the architect. And they said, come on, this is not something we can actually control, the air tightness. So legal problems, fears. So what did we do? We went to see those people who carry out the air tightness tests. All buildings are submitted to air tightness tests. And we saw that nowadays architects do their job very well. Contractors do their jobs very well. So it's not difficult to reach the 0.6 rate for air tightness. Once in a while, okay, you have someone who didn't do his job properly, but this is very rare. This is not what normally happens. So in 2012, we indulge ourselves because we competed for the European Week of Energy, for the European Prize of Energy, and we told our story about, well, what I've just told you, going towards the nearest zero energy building. And in June 2012, we had the European Energy Awards to reward our policy of nearly no energy building. So now we're going further. We are changing Brussels regulation in order to tackle air quality, climate, and energy questions, because Europe is asking us to plan in all directions, to plan our cities in all directions. That's the problem of cities who have to implement European rulings at local level. So, for example, we have an energy efficiency plan, we have a climate plan, we have air quality plan, and so on. So we say, but this is always the same thing. In Brussels, we only deal with buildings and mobility. We have no industry. So this is what we mainly deal with. And therefore, we are designing a new regulation with the aim of having all of public services present in Brussels, making them exemplary. Because half the tertiary sector is public. You know, we have the European Union, we have the federal state, we have the Flemish and French-speaking communities located in Brussels as well. We have the schools. So the public sector in Brussels is very dense. And therefore, tomorrow, our public services will have to be the front runners of passive building. So passive buildings are not only expressed in exemplary building any longer. This one, for example, is a promotion building. It did not compete in the call for tenders for BATEX, and therefore we are seeing a lot of buildings competing at the moment. In Brussels, you have at least 4 towers of at least 100 meters of height that have been designed and that will be passive by 2015. So you can consider that by 2015 you will have 500,000 square meters of buildings that will have been delivered, and that will be passive in Brussels. I'm sorry, I'm very, very talkative, as you will have noticed, and I talk very fast. Why a policy on building? When you look at the energy balance of the city of Brussels, you see that tertiary sector and energy account for most. Tertiary sector accounts for most of the energy consumption. So with the passive building, you reduce the problem of heat, 90% for new buildings, 75% for old buildings. Hot water as well is tackled by passive buildings, which means that with primary energy, renewable energies become excellent to attain your objectives in terms of primary energy. But what we're not so good at are the electrical appliances, because in Belgium, unlike in Germany, we don't look at electrical appliances. We look at ventilation, about heating, hot water, but not so much at electrical appliances. This is the definition of primary energy. In the offices, we look at heating, lighting, ventilation, and cooling. These are more or less the parameters we're working with. And you can see that with heating, you can go very far, with hot water as well, with air conditioning as well, ventilation. But when it comes to electrical appliances, then we're not that good. We're talking about computers, printers, and so on. Yes, some results now. Here you have the energy consumption from 1990 to 2009. We got rid of the climate effect because otherwise we wouldn't see anything. You know how it works. And you've seen that since 2004, you've had a significant decrease. Same thing for CO2. And if you look at this line, this curve here, you see that employment has gone up for by 15%, and the population has come back to 0 and then has gone up by 10%. So even though the population has gone up, the consumption has gone up, the consumption still decreases. Second thing, when you look at the number of inhabitants, the decrease is obviously even stronger. Of course, it's not just thanks to our passive buildings. We know there is also poverty. There is also awareness raising that has borne its fruit. And in any event, you see that the trends are very positive. So the means we're working with are funds of over 3.6 billion euros. The energy bill is about 2 billion euros, depending on the years. It varies, but that's the case in 2012. So that's 1.3 billion for the regional energy. And in order to fund these bills, we have 60 million euros from the budget. In 2004, we had 1.8 million, so this is not the same. And how do we spread this budget? In the past, we were 4 workers. Now we are 115 in our team. So just overheads. Then we have expert study, subsidies, software, calculation, and so on for 20 million euros. Then you have 5 million euros for the regulation of the system of gas and electricity. Then you have 1.5 million for the alliance with the private sector, 6 million for exemplary buildings, and 20 million for energy subsidies that are distributed every year. In our funding, 25 million euros comes from taxes on the energy bill.